Back at you with warehouse and operations as a career. I'm Marty, and I really have no idea what I'd like to talk about today. Be honest, I'm way behind again on our Q&A, but I haven't really pulled up anything to really talk about. You know what? Let's start off with our PMs, or preventative maintenance programs, or those duties. You may not know it, but our facilities keep pretty accurate records regarding the maintenance that's performed on our equipment. You know, that's one reason our pre-trips are such a big deal. Our maintenance technicians use those to address the day-to-day issues that we document. I was looking at a week's worth of pre-trip reports today that was on a spotter tractor. Now, it's shared between two people. One works Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, in the front side of Wednesday, and the other works late on Wednesdays, Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. So on Tuesday, one gentleman marked that the wipers, the windshield wipers and mirrors needed attention, and the other guy on his shift marked that everything was okay. The same thing happened on Wednesday, but in the morning, the sliding window needed attention, and later on in the afternoon, the next pre-trip was filled out as everything being fine. I know it's so easy to take those couple of minutes for granted, but they are truly important. If our unit, say an electric rider jack, or our reach lift is squealing a little and it's almost time for the regularly scheduled maintenance, they may bring it in earlier than scheduled and put us on some new brushes, for example. We just need to document that it's making a noise. We all love how our equipment runs after the electric motors have been cleaned out really good and brand new brushes have been put in, right? And that's for those units still utilizing brushes anyway. I say that our preventative maintenance programs are important, but actually they may even be regulated. We deserve to be operating safe equipment at all times. A good PM program will check things like fluid levels, tires, and wheels. How do we dent so many wheels on our counterbalance lifts? And, all of our hydraulic connections, the battery life and water levels, our steering boxes, load wheels, the mask on our forklifts, any chains. Oh, and one of the most important things for me is, torquing or retorquing all of our nuts, bolts, and screws. Anyone ever heard a bolt hit the ground and couldn't find where it came from? And on all of our electric equipment, everything needs to be kept tight. Bad brushes can ruin our motors, and the same thing with load wheels. I've had to dig miles and miles of twisted up shrink wrap from those drive wheels and load wheels. And there's a lot of parts that need lubrication too. Most preventative maintenance programs are written with either hours of use or clocked in hours as a scheduling indicator. All this is really important. Even with all that being understood, as a supervisor, sometimes it's hard to pull a piece of equipment out of the operations to get caught up on our scheduled PMs. But I assure you it's the thing that we need to be doing. I myself held a pallet jack or kept it on the floor for like 3 weeks over its hours mark and ended up ruining the battery. It was down for over 2 weeks then, as they had to not only replace the battery, but a lot of the voltage wiring had to be replaced as well. Just this week, I had a facility call me complaining about having to purchase a $5,000 battery for their forklift. The water level had been dry for what they estimated to be over 2 months. Now, besides the expense, it'll be down until the battery is actually built and arrives. Of course, that pointed to bad pre-trips. They discovered every operator had just been marking that the water levels were good. And you can bet there'll be some discussions and retraining with that crew now. So pre-trips, let's talk about that for a minute. They do become routine to us, but their main purpose is our safety. Our preventative maintenance programs are designed and written for our safety. Yes, these programs will help reduce expense and keep our machines running longer, but they deliver us operators a safe unit to perform our task with. I found a really good pre-trip for pallet jacks at media.ehs.uconn.edu, and I'll put that link in this week's show notes. Usually we'll have two different sets of checks. One with the motor off, and this one lists to check for leaks on floor below the truck, hydraulic oil, battery. It has us check the tires, condition and pressure. It has us check out the forks, the condition. All the hand guards, make sure that they're tight. Safety warnings. And a lot of the safety warnings we'll find in the manual. And as we all know, the manual should be provided to us, or in many instances, even on the side of the truck. And I think one of the most important things, or what I teach too, make sure that capacity plate is on every machine that you operate, and make sure that it's attached and is clean, that you can read it. And then it's going to list some motor on checks. And of course, I hope it goes without saying, any noises must be investigated immediately. Check those brakes. Is everything functioning smoothly? And one of the things I really try to make sure I'm checking is the steering operation. Is it good and smooth? Is it good and tight? And of course, the drive controls, forward and reverse. Is everything functioning properly? The lowering and raising control, is everything working there? Of course, the horn, is it functioning? Any lights and alarms? Make sure that nothing's been bypassed or, taped down. The hour meter. Many of these reports are going to, ask us to write down the hours. The battery discharge indicator. And, that's really important for us order selectors and, maybe pallet runners, people that are going to really be using the lift quite long during our shift. And OSHA.gov has some really good pre-trip sheets on just about everything. I like their forklift one. Again, it'll incorporate some checks for motor off and motor on. I won't go through the whole thing, but some of the highlights are, with the engine off or the motor off, check for leaks, hydraulic oil, engine oil, radiator coolant, the tires, forks, top clip retaining pin, and even the heel. That's important to check on our forks too. The load backrest, make sure that it's securely attached. Of course, any hydraulic hoses, mast chains, cables, and stops, we need to visually check all of those. The overhead guard, and I always look to make sure that my overhead guard is good and secure. The propane tanks. Real quick story about propane tanks. I was actually out walking to dinner the other night, and some construction company was using a counterbalance lift, and they had left the work site and not turned off the propane tank. So as I was walking by, I shut that down for them. Any safety warnings, make sure that everything's attached, especially if you're using some type of attachment, like a clamp or a roll grabber, anything like that. The battery, check those water levels. All engine belts, look those things over. What else? Radiator coolant, that's really important in those combustion engines. And of course, brake fluid, that's another big one also. The steering operation, the drive control, the tilt control, hoist and lowering controls, any type of attachment control, and of course the horns and lights. And it's really important that all operators must be trained, and that we've got to be evaluated on the types of industrial trucks and those attachments that we're going to be operating. Ladies and gentlemen, our pre-trip is so important, and we need to, remember that it's the law. They are required by OSHA. We need to be doing them, and we need to treat them as a legal document. You can bet that if something happens while we're operating the piece of equipment, it will become a legal document. Remember that we're signing our names to it too. I think us as operators sometimes think that all that responsibility falls on our maintenance technicians. It is our job. Even in a true activity-based pay situation, there'll be a component for us to do it. Think about it. It's our safety that we're talking about. Well, we ended up with a pretty good topic, preventive maintenance and pre-trips, two things that helps ensure we're productive and that we're going to go home every day. We'd like to hear about your PM program or what your pre-trip reports are like and how your facility handles them. Maybe we could start a discussion in the Warehouse Equipment Operators Community group on Facebook. And don't forget about the WAOC Facebook and Twitter feeds. We're easily found at using that little @ WHSEANDOPS. If you like the groups, maybe ask a friend to join them. And if they're really good friends, I'd appreciate you recommending them to subscribe to the podcast. Well, until next week, everyone be safe, and let's all take our equipment's operations seriously.